here, and we'll get a little pre-show. If you've got this part of the video, you got the live unedited edition, Home Gadget Geeks. It is November 8th, 2018. If you're listening to this any other time than, a minute before 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, it means you've got the live unedited edition. And we're just in the pre-show, so hang tight. We'll get started in maybe 5 minutes. Give some folks a chance to get out there and get in the chat room. Other Jim, good to see you out there. We're normally live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. TheAverageGuy.tv/live. I want to thank those who maybe have come over from the Burst, the VLP pool on the Burst Coin Network. So, guys, thanks for coming over. If you stay around long enough, we talk crypto at the end. John, we'll let you go because you don't want to talk crypto. But especially what we're talking about, super nerdy, super
like rigs and stuff.
No, more coins.
Okay,
more coins and stuff. Yeah,
get all the coins.
All the coins. Got to catch them all.
All the coins. All the coins. So I picked up an infusion. I have not. I've been
those
craving
blondes
these.
are so good.
Oh yeah. Oh, super. Oh, it's so good. It's a crime.
It's a crime.
So good. It's a crime. All right. John, welcome. Good to see you out there. We'll get started here in just a second. The other John Biggs out there. John, welcome.
Ken's out there as well. Good to see you, Ken.
Yeah, Ken, thanks for posting this in the Burst Discord. Man, I tell you what, Mike, I have joined a few. So we'll talk about this in the post show, but when Saya split, it split among it broke out three new coins. So I joined all their Discord channels. Holy cow, I cannot keep up. Like, I just can't.
I've been having the same problem with Twitch Discords. So there's some, and I found one that's actually, usually those Discords, like, hey, like let's get each other some views and stuff like that. It's just links and spam and all that stuff. But this one's actually really good. Everyone chats and talks and helps each other. And yeah, I've been the same way though. I mean, if I don't look at it for an hour, there's 75 new messages in there. I was telling the guys today, I said, it'd be great. I said, I said, am I the only one that would love a bot that would go in every night and send me that day's chat in a PDF to my email? I could just print it out and, just read it in the morning, just read it or not have to worry about scrolling back through. There you go. Yeah, have the computer read it to me. Make it a little podcast.
John Big says Kelly's there, his daughter. She's listening as well. I'm not sure she's real. So every time John posts pictures, but it could be one of those models from the picture frames that you buy at the grocery store, those kinds of things. So not sure those are real. I've never actually met her. All right. I think we're good here. Things looking good. Anybody in the chat room check Spreaker for me? Just make sure it seemed a little loud last week, even though somebody said it was okay. When I went back and listened to the post show or the show, it was like clipping. So if somebody would do me a favor in the chat room real quick, just click play on the Spreaker player right below.
Were both of us clipping or just me or just you?
I didn't hear you.
Okay.
I listened through the intro.
And you were clipping already there.
It was clipping pretty bad. And I was like, oh God, I hope it wasn't. Somebody had told me that in the chat room that the Spreaker was fine, but then it was, and I can turn it down a little bit if it's clipping. It's just good to get, it's hard for me to tell. I guess I've got the page up. I guess I could just click play down there. Let me do that really fast to make sure we are good. Then, of course, I got to listen to a commercial.
To listen to your own show.
You think there would be like host equals no commercial something?
Right. Right.
So I'm getting a Home Depot. I don't think you can hear it.
Well, you're a target audience too, right?
Storage bag for just $99. Get yours today at Lowe's, the new home of Craftsman. Offer valid 11/7.
Ooh, Craftsman. Wow, that's a big deal. Hold on, we'll see here now.
You're a real deal podcaster now. You got inline ads and everything.
I know, especially Spreaker. Okay, it sounds okay. Just the recorded, when I went back to listen to it, it wasn't very good. So
you can always replace those, right? With the version you.
Yeah, I do every week. Yeah, I go back to get the recorded version. Actually, I think we're going to use TriCaster or one of those services in addition that will record us all as a double ender. So it'll record yours locally, me locally, John locally, and then at the end it would combine them together and send me a file so that we don't get the clipping that we've been getting a ton of clipping in YouTube here or in Hangouts where or ducking. Sorry, I get the ducking where I'll be saying and you'll say something, Mike, and then
everything goes down.
It'll cancel it.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking, well, maybe I get a little bit better audio if I just bought one of those services that allow us to do double enders. We would still do the video this way, but we could also be recording. It's HTML5, so you could record at the same time.
Or this is our chance, Jim, to go Skype, and then I do the OBS, and we send it over to Twitch, and we switch all over. I
don't know if I can trust Skype.
No.
Oh my God. It's just a crapshoot. Skype is. I don't know. We'll have to think about it. Maybe around show 400.
What are we on? 378
tonight. Yeah, it's a lot of shows. Okay, let me kick this thing off and we'll do this thing. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Gadget Geeks show number 378, recorded on November 8th, 2018. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a kind of a chilly. I think we're expecting some snow in the morning. I think a little bit flurries, really.
There were some flurries already today.
I heard about
in the afternoon.
I guess I didn't get outside to see those, but snow is on its way. John, are you worried about the snow at all? John, by the way, John Larson's with us, Omaha guy. John, you worried about the snow at all?
Not as such. It shouldn't be a terrible amount. Luckily, I have a Subaru all-wheel drive, so that helps me get through.
Back on the weekend, they were saying 3 to 6 inches for yesterday, or actually for voting, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that it never happens. So of course, you can always rely on the forecast to get it wrong, and then they won't call it, and we'll get a foot, of snow coming in. So
yep.
Well, we're all, like I mentioned, John is our good friend. He's been on the show a bunch of times. I think, John, this is your 4th show with us. And he's a local Omaha guy, so we're all Omaha tonight. So get ready for some inside Omaha jokes. I'm sure they're coming. We do want to remind everybody, if you want to get access to the show notes, and tonight's show notes are going to be pretty good. You're going to want to go out and get them. Head out to theaverageguy.tv. For this one, it would be then a /HGG378 if you want to get there. Or if it's like in the next week or two, it's just right on the front page. You can get access to them there. Check out the show notes. Don't forget, you can also get us on the mobile app. I listen to that every Tuesday on my way into work. I flip over just to hear how things sound on that. And I don't listen to the whole show, but it's a great way to do it. You can listen on the road, streams, not download. It's an app that goes right on your phone. And you don't have to go into any kind of player or anything. It just is Home Gadget Geeks. Those of you who support us at Patreon help pay for that. And we appreciate you doing that. Head out to homegadgetgeeks.com and you can get that Android, iPhone, either one of them. It's absolutely free. Download it just so you have it. If you're on the road and you want to stream us, it is by far the easiest way to do it. So get it today. Just have it so you, in case of an emergency, homegadgetgeeks.com. Big congratulations to Erin Lawrence. 2 weeks ago, she was on here. We were talking about getting her to 10,000 subs, 10,000 subscriptions on YouTube. She hit that today or yesterday or sometime soon. That's Mike, 10,000. That's a big number.
It is, especially, you start to get to that 10,000 point, I think, and that's really where your trajectory actually goes. It's like a hockey stick, right? It's real slow in the beginning, but I think 10,000 is right around that sweet spot where you can really start to take off. YouTube starts, prioritizing your videos a little bit more and the recommendations. So I'm excited for her. I think she's at the, she's been doing such great content, and I think, she deserves all the subs and the views in the world.
She's doing a great job. If you haven't done that, go back to show 376. And the links to her channels and such are there. You can still subscribe to them if you want to. And it's well worth it. She does a great job. She's very fair, very honest. You probably want to follow her. I think Home Gadget Geeks is going to take credit for that 10,000. She was on here. It takes us a couple weeks for everybody to listen to the show and to subscribe. So congratulations, Home Gadget Geeks listeners, for getting Erin. But Erin, congratulations to you. Speaking of that, if you're not following us in the Facebook group, you're missing out. Let me hold on. Let me grab this box really quick. I just got to show you something. This is maybe where you want to watch the video part of it, man. But Mike, John, I got this big honking box. This thing is freaking heavy. This is the EGVA power supply that we talked about in the Facebook group for $60. And sometimes those deals come and go pretty fast. You know, this is a 750 watt gold power supply, Supernova G Plus. Doesn't that sound cool? By the way, 10-year warranty on this bad boy. Mike, you seem to think that maybe they over manufactured these for miners.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was wondering if they went down to 60, because I said I have that same one. I bought it back in the middle of the mining craze, right? Because I needed a power supply for just my 4 GPUs, and it was like $150, between 130 150. I can't remember what it was. I mean, so you're talking less than half of that. I'm wondering if, you know, these got really popular, and now that the mining craze has gone down a little bit, at least with GPUs, everyone's jumping up. If they are doing anything, they're jumping up to the higher level ones. Maybe they had a little bit of surplus. Maybe they overproduced. Now they need to clear out the shelves a little bit. I'm not sure. Is that the modular version?
It is the modular complete.
That is, I love the modular power supplies.
It's amazing.
It's the only way to go.
John, do you need a power supply? Is this $60? You going to jump on this thing?
Well, I've been thinking about building a new desktop PC, so that might be a pretty good deal. And I like that it has the name Supernova in it.
Right.
There you go.
We're going to talk about telescopes tonight, so good foreshadowing of that. Mike, here's the deal. As of tonight, recording like a few minutes ago, still available. Like, they're out. They must have made just a crap load of these things. So oftentimes by the time we talk about them on the show, they are gone. Not right now. So if you want to head out to, and I'll throw this link in the chat room as well, if you guys want to head out there and grab those, free shipping, $60. It came today, and Sarah sent me a message, and she was like, hey, we got this box from EGVA and it doesn't have a name on it. Like, did you order that? You know? And I was like, oh yeah, that's the power supply. So I was opening it up, and I said, you know, I don't really have a need for it at the moment, but it'd be a good backup. She goes, oh, that'd be a totally great backup. I mean, you can't ever, like, if a power supply goes out, you got to have it. I was like, all of a sudden, I stopped. I didn't even know it. Like, what alien has invaded your body? And
yeah, right. I think that 752 should be more than enough, even if everyone's upgrading, you know, to the 2080 Ti's, the new gen graphics cards, which I think take, is it 2 8-pin connectors for those 2080s? Wow. I mean, they just suck a lot of power, but I think the 750 actually should be enough. I think those things run, I want to say between 450 and 500. Maybe 400. So, I mean, depending on what your CPU is, it should be pretty decent.
Yeah. So links in the show notes, links in the chat room. Chances are, if you're listening this weekend, it's still available. I just have one as a backup. I'm eventually going to build another PC, and so good to have around for a backup, and still available, $60, free shipping. Get that done. Don't forget, Mike and I, next week, we're doing a whole show on Black Friday deals. We want your deals. Send them to me, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Kevin Schoonover sent me the link to all of Target's Black Friday deals. And that's kind of what we're looking for. The more you can narrow them in, the better. But we're starting to see a bunch of them come in. We've seen a bunch of SSDs. We've seen just a bunch of things going on sale Black Friday. So got a Black Friday deal. Send it to me, jim@theaverageguy.tv. We will get those posted and then talk about them next week. All right. I mentioned John is here. And John, why don't you give us, for folks who, it's been a while since you've been on, give us a little bit about who you are, who you work for, what you do as a day job.
So every day I get to work with the wonderful people at the AIM Institute. We're a nonprofit. We kind of grow and inspire and connect people along the Silicon Prairie for tech careers and tech experiences. In the last year and a half, most of the time I'm doing system engineer work, right? But in the last year and a half, 2 years or so, I'm now working in our school programs with kids, give them exposure to technology like Raspberry Pis, programming robots, circuits. Yeah, it's been an interesting change, and it's very exciting to be out and about with all of them and working with them.
No, it's pretty cool. Every time I see you, you got a robot in your hand, you're doing something cool.
Yep.
This year, when I saw you at Heartland Developer Conference, you guys were sporting some 3D printers.
Mm-hmm.
I've been super skeptical of 3D printing because it made a big splash and then has really kind of gone nowhere, at least in the major consumer market. And you said something to me like, "Oh, dude, like, hey, you can get this on Monoprice for like $160," and it got me thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe it's time. I've got this empty shelf that's sitting over here. Maybe it's time that a 3D printer, it would be right up here. A 3D printer would show up here. I got some feedback from folks as I mentioned that. They're like, oh, you definitely don't want to buy the small, that the cheap ones, because it's this limitation and that, or you got one, you have these options or not. If I'm, so talk me back into this, John, because the idea was that I would buy one, we'd do some projects with it. You guys were making little gadgets at the conference and stuff. Talk me back into a 3D printer. Why today, as a tech guy or gal, should I have one?
Do you have a hobby that needs parts replaced? Do you need a new mic mount, right, for your microphone somewhere?
I was going to build a robot lawnmower and use it for that. So that, yes, I do have a project where that could play in.
I don't know if I would 3D print my mower deck.
No. This was like shims and small parts where I needed to fit things together, like retro kind of fit them, Yeah, so that would work?
Yeah, I think so. You can, for me, I've been using it to do telescope parts. And they're not altogether big parts. So the small printer works for me. Plus, I don't have a lot of money outlay on a large $1,000 printer that I only use for a while, then I'm done. Or it has a bit more of a learning curve than some of the smaller ones. So for me, it was more of a price point so I could get up to speed and learn the printing processes before I might invest in a larger printer later on.
So what size objects can that printer do, the smaller one?
It says my printer is like 120 by 120 millimeters. Okay. So you can easily print, something like this big on it.
Was that printed on it? Is that one of your?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
John, what model do you have? Which one did you buy?
I have the Monoprice Mini. Yeah, the Monoprice Mini.
It
was like 220.
Select printer.
Yes, Mini Select. Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna get. So right now, $189.99. Does that sound about right?
Oh, it's come down. Oh, I paid $220.
Oh, there you go. I'm gonna put that both in the chat room here if folks want to follow along. It's kind of got a black tower on one side and a flat surface to the right and a little dial. Is that the right one? Okay. And so show that again, and then talk about. It certainly didn't print that way, right? Were there some other things that were on it that you had to cut off, or how does that work?
Well, for the most part, it would print sort of flat, so you're going up as it prints, right? And it printed with the holes in it, so I could put these screws in, just so that I could add pieces into it, and then they would slot in and they stay, right? So this is another 3D printed piece. This one specifically was printed to hold a laser pointer and then mount on my telescope. So go ahead.
Did you were there plans for that you just downloaded? So did you go somewhere?
I downloaded them, off of Thingiverse.
Okay.
So the only trick was these bolts were really hard to turn. So you'll notice that they're blue now versus this is black. Later on, I found somebody had made a design for a knob that I've changed and modified it. And then I used a soldering iron to heat up the bolt, and I slipped it down. So now it's kind of welded onto the bolt, and it stays there. So it's easy to turn and loosen and get the laser pointer out when I'm not using it.
Yeah. And so I'm assuming, when you say you modified those plans, so when you download these plans, is there some software that you use to modify it? I mean, is it pretty easy to do, or do you have to kind of know what you're doing?
I didn't know how to do it initially, but I kind of taught myself how. There's an open source program called Slicer, which is SLIC3R. And generally, objects that you download to print are in a specific format. And then they're more portable that way. But each printer is slightly different. Say like your nozzle size, the thickness of the filament that you're using. So you need to put those parameters in the Slicer program, and then you convert it to code that will run only on your printer. And there's other settings like, I want the density of the print to be 90% or 50%. So it'll make the print thicker with material, but it's still the same dimensions. So you know how like you have a honeycomb pattern?
Mm-hmm.
It will make the honeycomb smaller to make it more robust of a piece of equipment. Yeah.
So, I mean, essentially kind of like a video editing piece of software where it takes in all the different formats and then you put in what format you want out and it'll just kick out kind of a format that could be used on whatever device you're trying to use it on. Same sort of idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we all bought regular printers with paper, you know, we just set them on the desk, throw some paper in it, connect it to your computer. You might, in the old days, you might struggle to get the right drivers or get it on the network. Today, that's pretty flawless. I just bought, we had our printer went down and it went down hard. And so it went into recycle. And I just went to Walmart and bought a $75 printer that works just perfect. Like set it up, I was done, right? With a 3D printer set up, what would I expect if I've never done this before? What should I expect from a setup time? And just kind of, you know, you said, well, I wasn't good at it at first, but after I started doing this, realistically, what's the ramp up time? If I wanted to start doing this, what's the ramp up time? 0 to productively printing parts.
I did it in about a week, you know, a couple hours a night, and I was concentrating on small items so that I could do rapid printing to see where I would get used to it. A lot of the problems I encountered were the settings for my printer. So it was all tuning my settings to be repeatable every time I would print. The settings were nice. Temperatures on the printer are very important. So when you're actually melting the plastic, you're talking like 200 degrees C. And the bed has a temperature too, roughly 50 to 60 centigrade. Everything's in metric because these are all around the world except for, of course, United States. So you kind of quickly get to learn metric pretty well when you're working with the printer. At least I have. And I'm finding that measuring in metric has been a little bit easier when I'm doing projects, especially like, oh, it's 10 centimeters. I don't have to do some weird division with fractions.
Yeah.
And I've bought 2 reels of filament, and I've only used half of each reel. Each reel is around 20, 25 bucks, and they're a kilogram of material. And I've printed so much stuff. I haven't used up a whole reel yet.
So you've used about $20 worth of material for everything that you've printed since you got it.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
So when somebody says, how much does this cost? I'm like, that's hard to say unless I weigh it and then factor in my time. That's the only way I can kind of figure it out. And some of this stuff, it just doesn't weigh anything almost. It's very light.
You know, we have a place here in Omaha called Do Space, and they've got big 3D printers there. Have you used anything like that? Now, you got one at home. You're like, okay, these are slow and small. I may need a bigger part. Have you shipped anything over there or done anything on bigger printers when you needed to?
We have a bigger printer at the Brain Exchange where we work, and that one was kind of cool. We were just getting to learn how to use it last summer. This is like summer of 2017. And it was not giving us consistent results. And it was very frustrating. I was outputting more stuff on my small one than we were on the one that was 10 times as much in the terms of cost. I think it was $3,000. And so I just kept using all the small ones to do my stuff. So, but earlier this summer of 2018, I was thinking just how my printer was kind of weird until I got all my settings right. I'll read a bunch of forums and see what other people have done and actually got their config files, fed them in the slicer, and then I started getting very consistent results on that bigger printer.
Oh, interesting.
So this piece was actually printed on the bigger printer. That printer, you can just tell by the light sheen on it, this is a much higher quality print than these other ones. Because you can kind of see some amount of material on the end where it's not as perfect. But this one is just so much better. Very clean, very straight. The nozzle on this printer was much nicer from a quality standpoint.
What do you think? What's the retail of the printer you guys have in the Brain Exchange? Do you think
it's around 3,000?
Okay, so and I think at the Do Space, I think that's very similar, right? I think they have some pretty nice printers there.
Yeah, they've got like I think they have shrouds on top of theirs, so it can be quiet in the room when you're in there.
Yeah, and do you know the pricing? Do you know how that works? There of how you pay for those?
If you're bringing your own material, it's different. Okay. You reserve it just like you reserve a library book because it's an extension of the library. I had a friend who's in the Omaha Astronomical Society with me. In the run-up to the eclipse in 2017, he printed a whole bunch of pieces to make solar filters for his binoculars. And I thought, that's a great idea. I think I'll do the same thing too. So I found somebody who kind of made an object to print. And so I went and got it and printed it. I had to make it smaller for my printer, but you can, the filter material's on the inside of it. So it's very reflective.
An outside ring and then just insert that filament in there?
Yeah. Then there was like a lens cap that I printed that goes over the top of it. So it just slides on the end of my camera lens. It was very, very handy to have, let me tell you.
Well, there's so many pieces like that. Like as you're starting to talk about the things you've used it for, there's so many small items that I've gone and ordered off Amazon for like $9, $10. And I can't imagine how cool it'd be. Number one, it'd just be fun to print out your own replacement parts. But like things like that are a perfect example of something that actually you probably wouldn't be able to buy anywhere, or if you could, it'd probably be pretty expensive because it'd be really, it's a niche item. And that's what I'd be excited for, is to start finding the things that are I can just make better, or replacement parts, things like that. Have you done any like replacement parts for things that you would have had to go out and buy a part for otherwise? I'm always breaking plastic connectors off of things. That's what I'm thinking of. Like I can't even think, like on my mower, there's a latch that was plastic for some reason and that broke off. And I was like, man, it would have been, there's nowhere you can buy a replacement part. They just don't make them. I'm trying to think of something like that.
I haven't broken something that I've printed a replacement part for, not that I can remember, but I did find a mounting plate for the rechargeable batteries for my lawn mower and weed eater. So you can slide the batteries on the wall and mount them on these things so they're all nice and nice. That one took a while to print. I need to print more because it was like 4 or 5 hours.
And to print somebody just do that? I mean, is it just somebody putting that plan together? Is that kind of, and then you just grab it and they'll specify what it's for and they'll upload it to the community and then you can download it and print it?
Yeah. I mean, common search terms I put in were like camera, telescope. I mean, there's an entire telescope that you can print. You have to get your own glass and put it in there. But if you just go to Thingiverse and type in something, you'll find it. Let me put that in the show notes while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it's I find it interesting. Like, so when they're thinking about, so to Mike's point, so he's got this part on his mower, he breaks, and he can't find it online. So he's like, well, I'll just print it. Say he wanted, and he couldn't find it out there, and he wanted to create that part. What's the process, or do you know what's the process? What would he have to go through to design or redesign that part in a program so he could print it?
There's a couple services. One is if you have like FreeCAD or Autodesk. So you're using actual CAD program to do the designing and printing. Another one that I really like is Tinkercad. And that's all online. You can do the whole design inside the web browser and then download the object and print it.
Wow.
That's cool, but that's not easy though, right? I mean, that stuff's not easy. I mean, your best bet is to find it somewhere and print it, right?
Yeah. Or if you know somebody who's done a lot of 3D design, you can kind of con them into helping you out.
Go ahead.
No,
you go ahead.
I did a part for a friend of mine that I printed out earlier this year. He was working on a Millennium Falcon model, and he wanted to mount the model on a tripod stand so it looked like it was flying. So I printed the part out, and we took it to his house, and then he glued it inside the model. So he kind of found the design slightly and modified it for his model, and we did it.
Yeah, and so I'm at Thingiverse, and some things like a stackable can rack. Like, I was just looking for one of those on Amazon. You know, we got a new fridge down here, and we've been putting sodas in it. And right now they're going in the vegetable drawer in the bottom. And every time you open that thing, you know, the cans fly around. You know, I'm like, man, it would be really nice to have. And, you know, I can look, $20 on Amazon. It's here tomorrow, right? Don't get me wrong. Super easy. But it's just funny. That was one of the very first things that popped up. It was just like, oh, yeah, here's a stackable can rack you could print. That's pretty cool.
I've done searches for like battery holders, like AA battery holders. There are so many designs out there to just store your batteries. Or like little packs with the caps on the end, you can put it in a bag so they stay together. And if you think of a design, they've probably already got it out there. It's amazing what people have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool. Planters, some of those, lots of toys, lots of kind of gadgets. But, you know, there are people who have put together, you know, the plans for you. And it's just a matter of getting them printed and getting it done. What kind of, you've got some telescopes behind you. Have you had to print any parts for those?
Yes. In fact, that laser pointer one, that will actually mount on top, and I can use that during what we call outreach with the public, so that they can kind of see where the telescope's pointed in the sky. Like, this is where that object is that you're seeing right now. Exactly.
So you printed the entire mount, the part that connects to there, and then you also the part that's probably on top of the telescope?
Luckily, I already had a receiver on the telescope, but the receivers are available to print as well. So you can usually find them and print them up and then have them. I can add them to other telescopes if need be.
Wow.
So
before the show, John, we posted in our Burst community Discord that we would be talking about 3D printing and crypto. And one of the listeners out there, Thoth Loki, I guess he said, I won't be able to join us tonight, but printing and crypto, you are my best friend. Add lasers to that, and you're my best friend forever. So
I added a laser. Yes.
There we go. We snuck the laser in. But John, so like if you're trying to point that in the sky, that you put that on top of the laser and sight that thing in, and it like you can see that thing go out there and get it sighted in where it's going. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
So surprisingly enough, many years ago, the U.S. Air Force had a project where they were using lasers in the sky. And the project revolved around optics. So this has now been adopted for most large observatories around the world. It's just called adaptive optics. The telescope on these observatories, they shoot a laser beam out into the sky, and it creates a false star, essentially, for the telescope to see. So it can adjust all the mirrors and get rid of the atmospheric noise just by focusing on that laser. So if you've ever seen the videos on YouTube of like the telescopes in Chile, you'll see the telescopes kind of moving around in the time lapse, and you'll see the laser beam shoot out every so often.
And that's how it aligns itself? That's how it focuses, essentially?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty slick. The Air Force came out with it in like the late 80s, early 90s. And then everybody just started adopting it. Now, I'm not using it for that purpose. It's more of a sighting in where to go, showing people where the telescope's pointed. It's a nice visual indicator for them. Or you can say, I'm looking at this constellation. You can trace out the constellation with the laser pointer. Needless to say, we do not point these at any aircraft at all.
Well, that's what you were saying. So how powerful is that laser?
This one, I think, is around 25 milliwatt.
25. Okay.
So it is fairly bright. behind me, if you're using it for presentation work, it is very bright on a reflected screen.
Don't use it on a whiteboard?
Probably not. It'll be very reflective. If you didn't know, your eyes are kind of programmed to be very receptive to green. So it might look bright because of that. So that's kind of why we use them in astronomy, because you can kind of see them for a great distance.
Interesting. Where'd you get that one at? Amazon. Okay.
But that was around 6-7 years ago. I don't think they have them anymore for this power range. I mean, you can there are videos where you can take these apart and turn up the diode, but you really shorten the life of them.
So that thing's not going to pop a balloon or anything. It's not one of those lasers.
No.
Okay.
Would it, John, say I'm out, sighting things in, and I just happen to hit the International Space Station as it's going by?
They probably won't see it.
They wouldn't see it at all.
Yeah, it'd be diffuse enough by then.
Okay. By that point, it wouldn't cause dust to poof up on the moon.
No,
I'm just joking. We were joking about that.
Although you can point it and go pew pew anytime you want, right?
Yeah, but from a trying to sight in the night sky, kind of where you're going, powerful enough to send that beam out so people could kind of see where you're pointing.
And a lot of times, we'll have a group of people around us, and you can say, we're looking at this, and you shine it off into the sky. Every single time there's a kid right next to you that says, oh, can I have that? It's like, no, this is not for you.
It's a kid's best dream, right? You get to shine a laser into the sky, play around with it.
Yes, exactly.
Shine it in Dad's eyes.
Yeah. Now he won't see where me getting out of the house.
But back in a prior day, I worked with some guys. I was in a support battalion for the Army. And we worked on generation equipment, but the guys next to us were all the laser guys. And of course, they would light up things for targets, and then that's where the missiles would go.
Yeah.
And so they had some high power lasers. John, you've got some telescopes behind you. Let's talk a little bit about those. What do you got behind you, and why do you use them? I mean, in the last show you were on, you talked a little bit about going out. You guys went out to South Dakota?
South of Valentine, Nebraska.
Okay, so here in Nebraska for kind of a viewing event. Tonight it's cloudy. We can't do much today. Speaking of that, though, let's do that first. What do you got behind you?
Okay, over this shoulder, I have a Celestron Evolution. It is like one of their nice telescopes. This one was introduced a few years ago. This has a built-in Wi-Fi adapter, a built-in battery pack, and it's actually been tracking this entire time, although I'm not got any targets in it. I can hear the servos whirring as it's doing things. The telescope tube is 9.25 inches in diameter, and the focal length is around 2,800 millimeters. So you know how your camera, you have like a 35 millimeter camera? This is like 2,800. So it can go and bring things in pretty good. I've only had this since this summer. I got it to go on that trip. This is my first fully tracking, full go-to telescope. So you can actually use the hand controller and say, I'm going to look at this, and it just moves and points at it.
So by fully tracking, what do you mean? When you said you can hear it tracking, what does that mean to someone who doesn't know anything about telescopes, aka me?
Okay, this has got a motorized mount, and it's got servos. So you have azimuth, like around like north, south, east, west, and you have altitude, so up and down. So there's two motors in the base, one that rotates it one way and one that goes up and down.
Okay.
So we call that an alt-azimuth mount, or alt-az. And the go-to means it has a computer that has a database of objects. So as long as it knows where you are on the Earth and the current date and time, and you've aligned it to a couple of set stars, you can say, go to this, and it'll just, and then look at it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So do you plug in the GPS coordinates of where you're at, or how does it?
Generally, yeah.
Okay.
You can actually buy a GPS module that plugs into it, that feeds all that data into it if you want. I'm thinking about building one out of Bluetooth and kind of hardwiring my own item in that I can plug in just to see if I can do it. Let me see if I can. It has a hand controller. So if I was to I don't know if it'll show it rotating very much over there.
Yeah, it does. Totally.
Then I can make it go up. And then
most of the time, are you just plugging in what you want to look at, or do you actually do the manual adjustments?
Most of the time, I'm plugging stuff in. It can be a little off. So okay, I'm going to sight on Polaris first so I know where my position is on the North Star. Then I'll have to sight another star in another part of the sky, and the computer is pretty much on.
Okay.
But when you get on a target, it might be slightly off, but you can do fine adjustment on the motors.
It would be off maybe because GPS isn't as accurate, or...
Yeah, it could be slight. Or my time might be a few seconds off. Yeah. So you have to put every second in sometimes.
And it'll stay tracking on that, right? So you're watching it and it's staying up to date, trying to keep that in line as you're moving?
Yes. Okay. So I could walk away for 45 minutes, come back, and it should still be in the target.
Yeah. It just you plug that in, it's got batteries. What's the...
Yeah, this one has a battery pack built in. Okay. The previous models didn't have a battery pack. You had to add your own into it.
So how long does that battery last?
This one's rated for 10 hours.
Okay. Wow.
So if you're doing an all-night session, that's pretty much it.
Ryan Kirshner out in the chat room wanted to know if you'd mentioned, have you streamed the scope somewhere like nightskynetwork.com?
Not yet, no. I started building a Raspberry Pi adapter that would go in the telescope for maybe doing some of that later on.
Would you do that?
That would be pretty cool.
Locally? Would you do that out of your backyard? There's a lot of light noise here in the Omaha area.
There's a lot of light pollution here in Omaha. In my part of town, all the objects are kind of nice to the south. So I'm looking through Omaha to see them. So it's a bit washed out. There's a location I can go to that's usually around an hour away down in Weeping Water. That's pretty good, but there's no internet connection down there.
Yeah, that's the drawback to isolated spots here in Nebraska. You can guarantee there's no connectivity while you're out there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a YouTuber. His handle is Astro Backyard, and he does stuff from his backyard, and the results that he does are amazing. And he's in a pretty high light pollution area. So it kind of gives me some hope that I could do some amount of viewing and maybe streaming. I've done pictures through it. I've done the moon and a couple things.
And does it do that internally so you can take pictures through it, or do you have to add a device onto it?
I have to add a device onto it.
Okay.
I have an adapter for my camera. I've taken apart the Logitech 920 webcam.
Yeah.
I've completely taken it out of the case and 3D printed a piece that goes in the eyepiece.
Oh, nice. See,
you could stream it. That's awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
That's a great reason to have a 3D printer, right? You're not going to find that part anywhere.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great application for it. John, we had talked about trying to maybe set something up tonight where you would stream it into here. It's too cloudy tonight. We're expecting snow. We mentioned that at the beginning of the show. We're expecting some snow and some flurries tomorrow. But if I wanted to, could I go and can I control? Yeah, I can stream, but are there places I could go and see things?
Sure.
And maybe control them?
Some people do stream on YouTube. There's some astro imaging guys that do hangouts on Sunday nights usually. They talk about how they do their equipment and how they set up and do pictures. And they do live streaming on there. There is a site called itelescope.net. They're a nonprofit, and they allow you to view through telescopes. If you become a member and pay them their cost per month, then you can reserve time on their telescopes and actually do observations through their scopes. and then save the images for yourself.
Wow. So you wouldn't even, if you want to try and get into this, you wouldn't need to necessarily go out and buy one, head out to one of these sites and try it out, see if it's something into, and then invest in a nice telescope.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
What's the cost on something like that, John? Do you know?
The one behind me, or one of these big ones that they're using remotely?
To rent one, to rent one remotely.
It's like $20 a month.
That's not too. That's cheap.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, that
and
might
it's a nonprofit, so you're kind of helping them run stuff.
Yeah, no, right on. I mean, I think that would be really cool to be able to just kind of get into it without having to. Because how much is the one behind you? If I wanted to sink some money into this thing, what's the retail on that?
The Celestron was around $2,000.
And make sure before the end of the show you throw a link to that somewhere where we could see that as well. So yeah, you're making a little investment. I mean, it's not quite a car, but it's a little more than an iPhone.
Yeah, from a telescope perspective, my other big scope that I've got is called a Dobsonian mount, and it's totally manual, right? I think I spent $500 on that. So this is a significant jump, but none of my other telescopes have motors. None of them have go-to. This one has it. And the amount that I saw through this scope this summer, just in the 3 or 4 nights that we had, totally blew away my observation record in any of my scopes, just because you have to push it and you got to find it and you got to do this and look at the chart, and this saves so much time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more looking time and less searching time, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would get so frustrated, like, oh, I can't find it. Why am I? This is so much better.
You can just put in the coordinates. Yeah, you're like, oop, there it is.
Yeah.
You would put a link to a photo album in the show notes for us. We'll include those in the show notes for the show. I've also put them in the chat room for those of you, if you want to look back and do that. Talk through what this. I'm assuming this photo album was from summer when you were out there, and is this just all the pictures you captured while you were out there?
Yeah, the first 3. One is just my big scope that I had for a long time, but there is a picture of the sun during the eclipse from August of 2017. And the telescope I was using, a little small green one. I didn't need a huge telescope to view the sun. But the rest of the pictures were from this summer, like the star pictures. And the moon picture was from this summer. And then at the very end of that album is just pictures of the scope close up.
I was going to try and show that album, and the Hangout is locked up, so I may disappear. If I disappear, Mike, just take over. On this side, I'm locked up. My picture on this side is locked up. Everybody's locked up, but I can see in the live stream I'm still good. No, I think we're still okay. I was going to try. You'll have to go out and get that album yourself. The link is both in the show notes and there in the chat room. But yeah, so John, one of the very first pictures is that. Did you have to view that through that lens that we saw earlier that you made? Or how'd that work?
Luckily, I had a larger one, so it covered the entire end of the telescope. So that's the important thing about solar filters, is they always go at the beginning of your optical chain. In the 80s, they were selling those department store telescopes and said, oh, you can view the sun. And they made you this little filter that would screw on the eyepiece. But if you think about it, all the light is concentrated on that point, and it would melt.
Oops.
And that's what would happen to your eye if you were looking through it. You would melt your eye. Yeah. There were stories of people who were looking at the eclipse last summer, and they had crescent-shaped burns in their eyes because they didn't use protection.
Yikes.
So It's like very scary occurrence. Like, please don't look at the sun. It's not good.
You know what's scary right now is every single browser on my PC right now is not responding. Somehow the video is still coming through. So I'm a little blind of the show notes because I can't get to them. I can't get to them.
These pictures are fantastic, though. I can't wait for everyone to take a look at these. These are really cool. I was wondering what type of shots you were getting, and these are fantastic.
So the pictures of like the Milky Way, I will confess, those were not through the telescope. Those were just through my camera.
Okay.
I just put them on a tripod and let them sit for like 40 seconds. But you can get a tracking mount so that the camera moves with the Earth rotation, so you don't get streaks. That's what usually happens when you're doing long exposures.
Just even those slight movements are enough to give you those streaks. Okay.
Yeah, like anything over 15 seconds and you'll get a streak, usually. So one of those is like a 40-second exposure.
There's one that almost looks like it's like a fisheye. And actually, I could probably share it here. Let me see if I can do it.
Yeah, that is a fisheye, actually.
Is it?
The nice thing about fisheye is they're really wide, so it's more forgiving about the amount of time that you do your exposure.
Okay, so this one was also just on your camera then?
Yeah.
Okay.
The glow that you see off to the right in the lower right,
yeah,
that's Weeping Water, Nebraska.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that shows you how much light, even in a long exposure photograph, you'll see.
Yeah, these are really cool. Okay, so these are the ones you were talking about. That this is just your camera?
Yep.
Wow. I would have never guessed that was just your camera. That's a really cool shot of the moon too.
Yeah, so that's my camera set up on the telescope, the big scope behind me. That was the first time I'd ever hook a camera up to it. I just wanted to see what I could do with it.
That is so cool. That's a pretty sharp picture.
It is. Yeah.
That is super cool.
So
and of course he's pointing his laser at it and there's clouds of smoke coming off the moon. Go ahead, John.
So that was kind of a nice, well, I'm waiting for the kid, because we had an outreach event for all the Papillion La Vista kids. It's like, I've got a few minutes to kill. What can I do? Well, I'll try to hook the camera up. It's not exactly dark yet, so the moon won't be like super bright, but it'll be enough for me to do an exposure on the camera. Most of the time when you have that much moon face and you're trying to take a picture of it, you get horribly overexposed, or you have to put filters on to darken the image to get some detail out. But if you get it in twilight, where it's up in the sky, it comes out pretty good.
Which is so weird. You would never think that the moon was giving off enough light to be overexposed, but when you've got that much magnification on it, I guess that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like focusing on a light bulb in a dark room.
Yeah, because then you don't see anything around it.
Right.
You just see the light. It's the same principle.
Very cool. I really want to scroll through these pictures. Kind of sucks just to have your computer locked up. You don't realize how dependent you are on it until everything kind of locks up. John, what's ahead for you when you're got any plans as you think about when we're going into winter? I don't know if that's something you go out, you bundle up and go out and try and do it. But when you think about events coming up, anything around this?
Well, now that you mention that, this Tuesday at Lake Zarinsky, if it's clear, then we'll probably be out there. We have an outreach event that night. There's usually 3 or 4 of us out there with scopes. A lot of people. If it's moderate this time of year, they usually have people come out.
It'll be a little chilly. Tuesday night would be a little chilly, but you get some students. How do you advertise for that?
Usually on Facebook.
Okay.
So like the Omaha Astronomical Society, their website is omahaastro.com. We've got roughly 90 to 100 members. And there's usually built-in events every month that we do. The second Tuesday of every month, we're always out at Zarinsky if it's not cloudy. During the summer months, there's usually a Friday closest to new moon out at Lake Mahoney, at the golf driving range. So we're usually a lot of people out there. And that usually brings in like anywhere from 50 to 150 people walking through, looking through scopes.
I bet that's a perfect location to do it too. Out
there,
a little bit further away.
Yeah. And what else? Just being a member of the club, it's only $25 a year. But if you don't have a telescope, they have a telescope loan program. So you could actually try before you buy any number of different types of telescopes through the club.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just going to go borrow, and is it from other members that you're borrowing from, or do they have their own collection of telescopes?
The club has its own collection, yeah.
Okay.
There's been some that were donated. Hay Needle, they used to have a telescope division that for a number of years ago. They had donated 2 scopes that we got, I think about 5 or 6 years ago. So those are still out there that you can just rent. Or I mean, not rent, borrow.
Right.
People sign up to get a specific scope, and we have a loan chairperson, and he maintains the list of who gets what. So he'll collect them, or meet up, say let's meet up together, and you can borrow the scope or you return the scope. Yeah.
So are there some of them like the go-to scopes, or are all of them manual?
They're all manual.
Okay.
Teaching a new person how to use a go-to scope can be a bit of a challenge. We've had a few people who've, I just got this telescope, and you spend an hour at an outreach event showing them how the telescope works, which is good because they're learning, you're learning patience, and the more people you can get into the hobby, the better off we all are. I just hope that they don't get too frustrated and then sell it. Right. Oh, now it's gone.
Right. Yep.
Which I'm going to segue into another telescope for the moment that I also had behind me. So this little telescope is from a nonprofit called Astronomers Without Borders. And believe it or not, that is $199.
So magnification wise compared to your other one?
This one is 400 millimeters. So not as much magnification per se. Magnification is mostly based upon your eyepiece that you put in it, but this is extremely portable. 3 weeks ago, there was International Observe the Moon Night. I didn't take the big one. If you're looking at the moon, I just took this one because I can get it in the car and get there a lot easier and get it back in the car. Because setting up the big one, that's around a 30 to 40 minute commitment just to put it on site, start to do the alignments, put it together. This you can take in 5 minutes. So they call this a grab and go because you just pick it up and go.
But completely manual.
It's completely manual. But, the moon or the planets, fairly easy to see in this thing.
What's from a planet perspective, what's available right now? Isn't this a good time? Didn't I hear like all the planets are visible at this point?
So Saturn is visible. Venus has already come around, so it's going to start being in the morning here later in the month. Jupiter has been setting earlier and earlier in the evening, so it's going to be out of sight for a while because it's on the other side of the sun. But Neptune and Uranus are available to see. Mars is still up too in the evening sky. But most people, when they see Saturn, they're just like, oh, because they see the rings and then they're hooked.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see them pretty well with even that telescope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can make out the rings in the division usually.
Yeah.
So this organization, when you buy this scope, half the money that you put into it, they use for educational programs. So it could be in the form of sending telescopes to a country in Africa, or providing materials for an education science program for STEM in schools. They had a big thing that they did for Puerto Rico this past spring where they took a bunch of scopes down. So when
It's a cool way to do it.
Yeah, so when you buy the scope, you're helping those programs. And the fact that it's so easy to carry is nice, because there's actually a handle on the front of it. You just pick it up on the base. They call that a tabletop, just because it just sits on the table.
When you take that out to just view, so you're going out to a big dark field. Do you put it on a tripod? Do you put it on your car? I mean, what does it sit on to view?
You can use a picnic table.
Okay.
If you have a nice tripod, the scope will actually come off the base if need be. So then you can mount it on like a regular tripod if you want. Not a camera tripod though. It's sort of like an astronomy tripod. There's a plate that runs along the side of the scope. They call it a Vixen dovetail. It's just an angled piece of metal that fits into a saddle, then you tighten it down.
Not the traditional camera screw, similar, but a bit bigger, right?
Yeah, because there's so much more weight involved in this, it is a larger plate. And the Vixen dovetail seems to be like the most eponymous thing that you find for mounting telescopes, because it's so easy to slide the rail in, you turn one knob, and it's in. But you still have to do a little balancing, but
on those manual ones, for when you're helping a newbie out, how long until they really become proficient in finding what they're looking for?
It can vary.
Okay.
So if they have, let's see, how should I put this? If they've got very good eyesight, they can usually pick stuff out of the sky just by looking. I mean, they have these things called naked eye objects, right? So I can say, oh, if you're at a dark site, I can go, oh, there's the Andromeda Galaxy, just by looking into the spot where it's supposed to see. And you see a faint fuzzy. That's pretty good. But if they can read a chart and know times of the year based on the chart, you can usually home in on something pretty easily.
Okay.
There's a guy, his name was Charles Messier, and he was looking for comets. This is a long time ago.
Yeah, with a name like Messier, it's got to be like 1875.
Yeah. Or something. So he got annoyed that he kept finding the same things over and over again that weren't comets. So he made a list of them so he would remember, okay, I'm not looking at that because I already know what it is. But surprisingly, it's one of the more popular catalogs of what people use today to look at stuff, because they're all the cool things you can see, even with binoculars. So, like, there's a constellation in the winter months called Orion. You've probably heard of it. Mm-hmm. Below the belt of Orion, there is a nebula called the Orion Nebula, and they call that M42. So Messier 42. That one, you can just about see some color in binoculars. Normally, when you're looking at objects, it all looks black and white.
Yeah.
Because you're the way your eyes are. But you can make out some amount of pink sometimes out of the Orion Nebula, just because it's so big in the sky. So this with Messier objects would work pretty good. I mean, if you could use binoculars, that would give you so much better.
And following the charts and everything on the Messier charts, I mean, you can pick it up decently fast. Okay. Mm-hmm. Cool.
They call that star hopping. It's like, okay, I go this one to this one to this one. It's all I mean, humans are great at recognizing patterns, right? That's why we have constellations.
Oh, makes sense. Easier to find when you know a group of them, what they would look like. Mm-hmm. Recognizable. Okay.
Ryan Kirshner in the chat room, he just shared a link with us as well. That's got some additional pictures in it. I'm going to put that, John, in the show notes below your album, and we'll give Ryan some credit for that as well. This is his boss he's been out with. And the last picture on that link is the M42 object, John, that you were talking about.
Cool.
There. So it looks super cool. John, with the with the telescope, sorry, still a little shaken from my from all the browsers locking up. I had to completely, if you're listening to the audio, I just disappeared for a while. I had to restart everything here. Fortunately, the way I podcast, I'm not dependent on my own computer for the actual streaming, so that can kind of continue to go on. But John, how far out can I, with your good telescope, realistically, how far can you see?
Oh, that's actually a difficult question.
Yeah, that's why I asked it.
So,
might be the smartest question I've asked all night.
So, do you remember the days of department store telescopes? Oh, it's only $60, and it's got 500 magnification. Well, some scopes, most scopes have magnification limits, right? You can go down so far, and then your images start to become muddy because it's just too much magnification. When you have high mag stuff, and you're using a scope that's not a go-to tracking scope, you're on high mag and you're looking at Saturn, and Saturn does this in the eyepiece. It moves across, and then it's out of the field, and you have to adjust it again, and adjust it again. So all that high mag stuff means a lot more work on the individual if they're using manual telescopes. So roughly, I don't know the calculation for it, but I know that a 10 millimeter eyepiece in that telescope is close to the limit for it just because of its size. And it's a pretty good magnification. I can see Saturn pretty well in what they call a 14 millimeter eyepiece. And you take the focal length of the telescope times the eyepiece to get your magnification. I think that's it.
But objects that are farther away would be moving, should be moving slower. So when you think
that's the trick, though.
Okay.
The things moving through the field on your telescope is due to the Earth's rotation. And the Earth's a constant rotation. So a telescope mount that's motorized is just compensating for Earth rotation. So you just have to worry about when does it rise and when does it set.
Yeah. Okay. Because so Saturn, we're not compensating for Saturn moving. We're compensating for the spin of the Earth.
Right.
Stupid Earth.
So
just stop spinning, Earth.
Gosh,
make it a lot easier. You know.
There is some motion with the moon.
Yeah.
Because of the way it orbits the Earth. But it's pretty much, the sun's pretty much the same all the time. So, yeah.
No, that's good. It's good thought. We're on the closest thing that is actually spinning is the rock we're on.
Mm-hmm.
And so relatively speaking, you're getting the most. You're having to compensate for that spin here on the Earth. No, that's cool. Do you see so that motor, once you get it dialed in, it just keeps as fast as the Earth is moving. I mean, I think those things move fast. It's keeping up with what you're looking at, and you're not seeing any jitteriness in it. It just is pretty clear and consistent.
Well, there's no real jitter. How should I put this? There's things known as periodic error, and it has to do with the worm gear that's used in some telescope mounts. I haven't seen it on mine. The only thing that happened, because of the way mine is set up, you know how I call it the Alt-Az mount? Because it's in this plane and this plane. There's another mount called an equatorial mount, which is angled based upon where you are on the Earth. So we're 41 degrees latitude? Longitude? Anyway, the telescope is mounted at an angle to compensate for the placement of the sky. So if you're doing long-term astrophotography, you're probably using an equatorial mount, so it compensates for the angle. In my scope, if I was to try to do long-term photography on it, the way this mount is, the image would rotate in the eyepiece. So you wouldn't get a clean image for a number of periods. There's a club member in OAS. All he does is imaging. He never uses eyepieces through his telescopes. And you're talking about, he'll start doing imaging on one object, and he'll spend 3 nights on it. On one object. And that's 5-minute exposures. And he might do, 100 photos a night. He takes all those photos and stacks them together with software to get clean images out of it.
Wow.
Yeah, his setup is a really nice technical setup. He's actually got computers mounted on each mount. He remotes into them with VNC. He's got his own Wi-Fi network on site. He's got 5 deep cycle batteries to run everything and a generator, and it's like a big computer center out in the field. It's great.
Anything worth doing is worth overdoing.
Yeah, and his pictures are up on the Omaha Astronomical Society website in the gallery. It's some amazing stuff.
Mike, you were going to say something?
Well, no, he answered it.
Ryan just added an image to that library he gave us, and then said, "It's his boss's scope. He has an equatorial. Is that right? Equatorial mount. So he's got one of those. That's cool. That's a big. That's
an Edge HD. Yeah, that's a nice scope.
Are those weights at the bottom of that thing?
Yeah, because that's a heavy scope, so those weights are to counterweight to balance it on the mount.
Can I keep it that way? I think I'm losing my voice. I ran some stairs today, and I hadn't done that in a while, and that's not. I shouldn't do that on Thursdays before I podcast. You get stair lungs, and it just tears them to shreds. So, John, anything else before we kind of wrap it for you and let you go? Anything else that you've along these lines? Anything I missed? I got really distracted when the system went down. But anything else?
If you're interested in astronomy and the stars, and you want to get started, the best advice is use binoculars or go out and buy binoculars, because then you can get your appetite whet with something that you can use at night and during the day. And then maybe jump into one of the little $200 or $300 scopes like this one behind me. That way, rather than going and getting one of those $60 or $70 scopes from the department store, you get so much more light gathering on that piece of equipment. That One Sky telescope from Astronomers Without Borders, that's a 5-inch diameter mirror. It gathers so much more light than some of the smaller scopes. You would be a lot more surprised and happy with it.
Can I buy that just directly from their site?
Yes, they have a store section. Okay. I saw a tweet last week said that they were back in stock for the holidays.
Oh, nice. Click on shop, and then $199. Yeah, US only. AWB One Sky Reflector Telescope, US only, $199. You can get those. I imagine plus shipping probably is going to be $30 or $40 maybe to get that shipped to you. But $250, that's not bad. I mean, I was just looking at a 3D printer for $198, or $189. So
yeah,
not bad to get you if you're interested. John, I imagine you, in the work that you do, kids love this stuff, right? You probably see a lot of kids when you're doing this really kind of geek out on it.
Yeah, in fact, in one of our programs, we just started an Astro Explorers Club. So we're talking about the night sky and the stars and things like that. And tomorrow's our second session during the afternoon, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you'd be good at that. I think you like working in that space. And I think with telescopes and some of the stuff we're doing, I mean, this is the perfect merger. Just tonight, we talked about 3D printing, lasers, and telescopes. Like, that's pretty cool. And not even maybe 50 years ago, 30 years ago. This is a field that has, I think, benefited from technology getting better, things getting faster, GPS, which didn't exist I'm thinking 30 or 40 years ago. I did this as a kid. We had an astronomer in our church, and he was looking for comets. And so that was real popular. They would go out. He'd spend 4 or 5 hours in a night sweeping the sky. It was super boring, but I was really interested. I went out with him one night, and I watched he set me up with a really nice pair of binoculars, and he took me out on a night when the moon would rise right after we got there. And it was a full moon. Like, he picked the perfect night. He didn't sandbag on me. He gave me a great night. And so he put the binoculars on a tripod and then just said, okay, in about 5 minutes, the moon's coming up. Watch it. And for the next 20 minutes or so, I watched the moon rise and then kind of tracked it on its way up. And I was hooked. Like, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I've always had a sweet spot. He eventually did find, Don Mocholtz is his name. He eventually did find a comet.
Nice.
I don't know, maybe 10 years after that or so. But he would go out one night a week and look for these comments. That was kind of his hobby, which was really cool. So I'd see him scan a section and write something down. Then he'd scan another section and write some things down. But he had one of those big long. He had a long.
So it'd be like a refractor.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's all glass.
Yeah, I remember him hauling it out of the car and setting it up. And it probably took him half an hour to get it all set up and dialed in. And wait, we went out in the evening and wait for it to get dark. Stuff. We went up in the hills, Bay Area. Bay Area is hard to get away from the light, even harder today than it was then. But we went up in the hills and did some stuff, and it was really, really cool. I was super impressed with it, and I'm super impressed. I would never want to. I'm not disciplined enough for this stuff. It takes time, and it's just like, but I appreciate you guys that do that and bring back some really great pictures that really highlight what's going on. Of course, we've seen in our generation, Hubble has just changed the equation.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Right? When we think about astronomy and how we understand the universe now, I mean, Hubble, and I think kids, this is one of those things where we have a generation of kids who don't really know days before we didn't have these awesome Hubble pictures, right? And it's like, hey guys, it hasn't always been this way. Like we didn't know a lot of things about 50 years ago. 1968, 50 years ago. If you go back, I was reading an article today about what the world was like in 1968, the year I was born, and you're like, wow, we have come a long ways. Just from having podcasts, live streaming around the world. We could literally be anywhere just about with Wi-Fi in the world. And then some amazing pictures that you guys have taken. John, thanks for taking the time tonight. Always great to have you on. I appreciate you giving us an hour of your time to jump in here. Thanks for the work that you do in the city of Omaha as well. It's really cool to see the work. I'm glad you're getting a chance to work with students. That's one of my favorite things to do too. We've got a high school program as well. And I've got a student this year. We opened up our coding program to hardware projects. If they wanted to do, it had always been software. And we kind of said, I'll do anything. We just wanted to see what would happen. And we actually had a student hack together. It's super cool. We have 2 students doing it now. They've taken some surplus, some just parts of screen and some boards, and they're bringing in a Raspberry Pi, and they're creating their own digital assistant using Python to create a digital assistant.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And they're geeking out. They said to me the other day, one of them said, the program ends at 1, we feed them lunch and then we hang out till 1 and we kick everybody out of there. And one of the students said, do we have to go? I was like, yes.
That's when you've had a successful project, when they're asking if they have to go.
Yeah. No. John, thanks for what you do, man. Great to have you on. Thanks for setting up your equipment and all the stuff that you showed us tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Mike and I have got some things to clean up here on the show, but we'll let you go and return to the program already in progress. How's that sound?
Cool. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good evening. I'll look forward to seeing you again. We got to get together more often than just Infotech and Heartland Developer Conference.
I didn't even mention that you can control the scope with Wi-Fi in a tablet.
Yeah. No, I think you showed that, or we might have talked about that the last time you were on. Maybe not. I don't know. But
yeah, there's the more recent purchase too. The Crane.
Oh, nice.
The Smooth 4. Yeah.
Yeah, John also is a photographer for events, and so oftentimes he goes around shooting photography. You had that cool little device that I forget what it was. That little camera, we talked about that a couple times ago. Yeah. That's cool stuff. So, John, thanks for coming on, man. We'll let you go. Let you get back to it. Thanks for jumping in. You can just hit the red phone button. But thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Hey.
Thanks for jumping in here.
Nice talk, Mike.
Great having you. Have a good night.
You.
Okay, bye.
Take care. Super cool.
This is another one of those podcasts, Jim. We've talked about this. There are a few topics that I've just never explored. So I love, I'm sitting here, I'm just learning a bunch. I'm like, man, I didn't even know these things existed. And just learning the difference between all the axes and the powered versus non-powered, the go to, not go to. I tell you, it'd be super cool. I definitely want to go out and attend one of these events. I had no idea they were doing this at Lake Zorinsky like every week, he said.
Yeah,
that's right down the road for me.
In your backyard.
It is,
yeah.
Right in my backyard.
Yeah, no, super cool. Yeah, you should definitely. It's some really cool, in some very niche-y tech, and like I said, this is an area where tech has really helped, and so they're adding a lot of cool technology, and it's super cool. So again, we appreciate John coming on. Very cool. Mike, we are going strong in the Fitbit group. If you haven't joined us yet in there, I cannot tell you how many times I've wanted to buy an Apple Watch this week, though. I am not.
Really?
Yes. I don't
Why
know.
this week?
I don't know. I don't know what's gotten into me. Like, I priced one out. I went out and jumped in and, $4.99 or whatever they are, $3.99. I priced one out. I'm just like thinking, well, I'm wearing a Fitbit and I'm wearing a Garmin, I'm wearing two things. And I was like, I can get this down to one. And
yeah,
I'm not able to pull the trigger, but I'm still hanging in the Fitbit group. And so if you want to join us on the Fitbit group, Jim at the Average Guy, no, don't send it there. You will email me, Jim at theaverageguy.tv, and give me the email address you use for Garmin or for Fitbit. Sorry. And I'll get you added. And basically we just friend. And then every week or so, someone's starting a challenge and you can jump in there. Tajoski is just killing us all. I'm not going to lie. That guy.
Really?
Oh my God, Mike. I had a crazy week and I did about 108,000 steps. That's you got to do a lot to get 108,000 steps in a week. He literally is doing that every week. So again, whatever's worth doing is worth overdoing. So Tajoski, nice work on that. Everybody's getting a little discouraged, but it's okay. Hang tight. Ryan says in the chat, dude is nuts with those steps. He is. And I believe him. I think it's all legit, but it's a good challenge and makes me think like, okay, I better step it up. I have done 108,000 in there. Don says in the chat room, Jim, there's always Christmas right around the corner. It's not really Christmas, Don, when you're buying it for yourself. That's not the, but then I guess Sarah's not going to drop 400 bones on a watch, and I shouldn't, but I've been thinking about it a lot.
I think you should. It's been a game changer for me. I love it.
No, I know. Hannah got the newest version.
She did.
Which gen is that? What do they call that? Gen
4.
4. Okay.
Yep.
What's 4 have that 3 doesn't have?
So for the form factor of the screen changed a little bit, so it's a little bit bigger. You got way less bezel, so you got a lot actually more screen than you did on the old ones. You got the EKG built in.
I need that. I'm getting older.
Yeah.
I'm getting older. Gotta have
a lot better cell connectivity. I don't know if you're going the cell model. One good way to do this too, if people are going with the cell model, you can buy it through like your Verizon, your Sprint, and AT&T, and you can pay it off like you do a phone, right? Interest free over 6 months. So then it's just like, I don't know, $50-$60 a month, interest free. You just tack it on there, and that's a good way to do it.
Good way to hide it.
Yeah, it's a good way to not feel it as much, right? If I looked at my Verizon bill, I'm like, man, we have 3 devices we're paying off. It's weird how fast that bill can go up.
It does.
Hannah and I both have iPhone 10s that are on there, so it's weird.
Forever too. It seems like.
Yeah.
Don said his kids gave him one for Father's Day, and yeah, I don't think I'll talk about my family. That's something I'll probably purchase, but I've been kind of waiting for things to break so that I can really justify it. Fitbit goes out or the Garmin watch goes out, then you're kind of like, okay, it's probably time to switch. So been thinking a ton about it. Speaking of that, maybe 2 beers was too much tonight. Don't forget, it's going to be a really interesting crypto conversation at the end here. This last infusion, I don't know. Now it's only 4.8, so it's not. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. Don't forget, we want to thank those Patreon subscribers. So if you're out there and you're doing that on Patreon, we appreciate it. TheAverageGuy.tv/Patreon gets you there. We got plans for $1. Super helpful. Just kind of keep the lights on and everything rolling here at The Average Guy. .tv. Don't forget, if you want to email me, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. Find me at Jay Collison. You can find Mike at Uyghur Tech. Mike, you're doing a bunch of stuff on Twitch still. You've been doing it 2 or 3 weeks.
I've been loving it. Last night, actually, we had one of our best streams last night. We had quite a few people in there. Everyone was chatting. It was a ton of fun. Found a good Discord community and to join. And so if you want to come out, we've been playing Call of Duty lately, doing the new Black Ops mode. And you know what? The other thing, Jim, I started playing. Parker, my brother-in-law, has been joining me every time now. It's a much more comfortable stream. And I enjoy when I'm watching people stream, if they're talking to someone and they're not just sitting there. It's awkward to talk to just nothing, like talk to yourself. But if you're having a natural conversation with someone while you're playing together, it really added a lot. Yeah, so I am the Dad Nerd on Twitch, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram if you want gaming stuff. The Dad Nerd, I'm that everywhere. So yeah, come on, join. I'd love to have you out there. That's why I was telling Jim, like, do I have to take this down? It's kind of a pain to take down. I kind of forgot about it until right when we went live. I got the green screen behind me for when we do that.
Get your bandwidth fixed too. For the first part of the show, it was really bad.
Yeah, I did. I noticed we had someone outside the house was watching Plex. Two people were watching Plex. So I had 2 HD streams heading out of the house, which are that's what's stuff down.
Boot them. You have to tell them Thursday nights off limits. We'll record it, but you can't come in, block them.
I was going to.
We don't want them in here. Just a reminder, the Average Guy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. Of course, you know Christian, and we appreciate him for his sponsorship of hosting all that we do here. And the lights just stay on with him. So super cool, Christian. Thanks for what you do. Don't forget HomeGadgetGeeks.com if you want to get the app. Great way to get that done, get that loaded up. And then don't forget, Mike, I've had 2 HelloFresh meals 2 nights in a row. Like tonight, Sarah had it ready when I got home. It was pretty awesome. I just can't. It's been great. And
it must baffle your mind that not everyone uses it.
Yeah,
the way you talk about it, man, everyone should I
just can't
use it.
I was on the treadmill today, and a buddy I was talking to about it, and I'd given him a coupon, that basically gives him the week for free. And we were talking about it, and then I started saying, you know what? You want to know what I had last week? It's like I got on my phone and I started going through last week's. Like, oh, this was really good. And then we had two options tonight in the fridge. We had a chicken and a steak, and I thought for sure Sarah would go steak because we had chicken last night. And the great thing is, we get these 3 meals, and we can kind of pick 3 nights during the week that we want to cook them. So you just and you really only have about a week. It's so fresh. Within about 5 or 6 days, some of the fresh components kind of start breaking down, right? Because you're talking about fresh. That's
right. So you want to make sure you order an amount that you're actually going to be able to go through in the week.
Yeah, remember those things called vegetables? Like they come out of the ground and what
are those?
They go bad within a week.
Yeah.
Of being in there. And so I thought for sure it'd be steak. And she had done the chicken cutlet tonight. It was super good. It was really, really good. So then I said, oh, I thought for sure you'd do steak. She's like, nope, I want you to cook the steaks. So tomorrow night, steaks are on the menu, and not the gourmet plan. This was just the regular plan in there. So pretty cool. If you still want to, I get these coupons all the time, guys. Again, I don't really make anything off of this. If you want me to make something off of it, just tell me. I've got a code that does. Actually, if you want to, if I get a little credit, I think it's $30. You get 40 off. There's a link to it in the show notes. I've been putting it in the show notes over the last couple weeks. Just go out there and use the link. You don't even have to contact me if you don't want to. But if I got bigger, I have coupons that basically give you the week free, and they expire. They put expiration dates on it, and so I think these expire at the end of the month. So get to me if you want to do that. Again, I'm not pimping it, guys, because I'm making a ton of money off this. It's good stuff. So get it done. HelloFresh, if you want to do that with me, let me know. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. We're going to do a little crypto. I have a bunch of Saya updates, so that'll pretty much mean everybody's going to leave the chat room. But that's okay. Mike and I will stay around for a few minutes, and I'll get Mike caught up on the Saya stuff. If you come out live, you can stay for the chat. We'll be back next Thursday. Big Black Friday deals coming up. So if you're into that kind of stuff, Mike and I will be going through all the Black Friday stuff we can find. Send me your Black Friday deals, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. We'll see you next week. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. And I am losing my voice quickly. If you made it this far, you've made it over to Patreon, or you're live, one of the two. And you've made it to the post show. Thanks for coming out, all 3 of you who do that every week. I look at those numbers. There's not many. I don't spend a lot of time producing this, Mike, so it's not a waste of time. There's a few who really are faithful, and they get really mad when I forget to post it.
Over on Spreaker?
Yeah, over on Patreon.
Sorry, Patreon.
If post it on Patreon by Sunday, I'm getting a, hey, you gonna post this thing? One who even says he's now Home Gadget Geeks quality control. I won't say who that is, John. So I forget.
We've got a few Johns too, so I still don't know which one.
No, it's that John. Not that I'm going to say who it is, John Biggs. So it's good. Sometimes I forget. I don't know why, but sometimes I forget. It's good. It's a good reminder. Just a handful of you, but pretty great stuff when we think about it. Did you do any crypto work this week, Mike, or did you just blow it off?
I talked a bunch of crypto. Actually, we were having a really cool conversation. Went out to dinner with some work people, and not necessarily around crypto, but more around blockchain. And it started with just a conversation about the server rack I had in my house. And like, what? Why do you need one of those? And of course, we went down the rabbit hole. And I forgot how much fun it is to talk just general blockchain and really to get down to the basics. I felt like it was kind of a year ago when I was starting to tell everyone about this stuff. So when you find someone who hasn't really dove into it yet, they don't know how it's working. I was also having a really cool conversation with my dad through their, at their work. They're trying to do a lot more consulting on it. So I was kind of just having a conversation about it. And so yeah, actually this week I spent a lot of time talking about it. So when I saw it on the show notes, I got really excited because I did not follow the Saya fork. I knew it happened. And then I think last week I kind of asked you, okay, so has anything happened with it? And we were kind of saying no, but it sounds like there's a lot more updates that have happened.
Yeah, actually a lot more than I started digging in, and I'm like, oh crap, I kind of missed out. Now, if you listen to last week's crypto, nothing changes. The fork was a nightmare, and everything for Saya, for the Saya group. But there's actually 3 new coins that have come off of Saya, and they've all come off in the last, maybe since July. So they're all brand new. They're all versions of Saya, although some of them have restarted the blockchain. Some of them have forked off of the blockchain, and it's kind of interesting, Mike, what they're doing. So let me run through the player.
But clarify that. So these all didn't come out of this last fork. Some of them have been around since July, you said?
Well, so some of them are recreating. They're using the code, the Saya code from the blockchain, but they're restarting the blockchain. So they're like, okay, here's the deal.
So they're not running in parallel like you could.
Yeah. And some of them have taken snapshots. So it maybe 163,000 on the blockchain. They took a Saya snapshot to say, okay, everybody who has Saya coin at this point is going to get, this is where airdrops come in. So if you held coin at this time, and then we're restarting the blockchain, of course, you wouldn't get any at that point. You wouldn't get any coin, right? Because they've restarted the blockchain. Right. And so they do these airdrops, which is basically they're like, okay, at the time when we did the snapshot, we're going to give you 1 for 1 or 5 for 1 or 1 for 5 or 1 for 10, whatever. Right.
Interesting. Okay, so I was wondering what those airdrops were. So airdrops are after a restart, you don't have anything, but it's a snapshot of the original chain. Whatever you had in the original chain, a snapshot of that. And they're basically saying, okay, you'll have
10. Say it's 1 for 10. And they do a snapshot and you had 10, they're going to give you 1 automatically. You get a coin. That's the airdrop, right? And they're pretty complicated, and it's not just always 1 for 10. It's various times, and sometimes if your user number, if you were in the first 100,000 to be on the block, you get more than if you came in afterwards. And so they were rewarding people who've been around for longer, giving them more in the airdrop, giving them more coin. Of course, they always hold back some for the devs. They always hold back some for, for the community, and they reserve some for miners. And it's just the way it works, right? And so it is really, really complicated. We won't probably spend a ton of time getting way into it. But if you've been, I feel obligated because we talked some of you into doing Saya. And so there might be a few of you who did this. It was actually not a bad deal on the fork. Once Saya, from last week, let me just say, Saya's got things back up and running again. And
how long did it take them? Almost the full 48 hours?
No, it was about a day. It was about a day. About the time we were talking about it, it was working again last week. If I would have refreshed my screen, I would have seen that they were mining again. So maybe 24 on that or so, something going. Of course, I had a premise. I thought maybe that, hey, okay, so difficulty's going to plummet, and it did. Maybe I could GPU mine. Well, I had all that set up and I started GPU mining. It was mining, except they blocked everything except the obelisk miners that are part of the ones they sold, including GPUs. That I didn't know.
Oh, it was mining, but you weren't getting any credit for it, essentially?
Yeah, it was being blocked. So it was mining. Let it run overnight. I couldn't get my results to come back. So I was mining pretty much at the end of the show. I got it all figured out and configured. I started mining. And I was like, oh, cool, we're up. And then I kept refreshing and refreshing and refreshing and refreshing, waiting for it to show up in the, kind of on the website. Never did. And I thought, I'm going to go to bed. It was late. I'm going to go to bed and see what happens in the morning. And I woke up in the morning, had been mining all night, no results. So I dug in. I was like, it's Friday morning. I don't have time. I got to get to work. So when I got home Friday night, I spent some time Friday night. And this is where I kind of uncovered all the other coins that came out of this. I was like, holy crap. I got into the Discord group to figure some things out. And then I saw there were other groups. And I went to siamining.org. Is that the right one? Sia mining. Hold on. Let me look in the notes here. Sia. Yeah. No. .com. siamining.com is really the site to go to. I didn't realize back in the summer they have a site, siamining.com/chains, where they have all 4 of the coins, and then they list out in a really nice columns everything that's going on with them, right? So a lot of information if you want to go out there and take a peek. So I finally figured out, like, oh yikes, I can't do this. If you had the obelisk that they sold and you had that thing turned on, it was generating $90 or $100 a day on those in Sia coin at its current week. Yeah. Now that difficulty, as people of the obelisks have come online, that difficulty has really climbed. And so I think it's probably in the $30, $40 a day at this point. Even that's still pretty good.
Hey, that's still really good.
Well, and they don't have very many out there. They have the blockchain themselves.
Well, I wonder how many they sold. Did they ever talk about how many they sold?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't think it was many.
I don't think so
many people wanted to buy them because they were competing. There were other competitors out there. Most of them have moved to the three other blockchains that have come out of this. So Hyperspace is one, Sia Prime is one, and Sia Classic is one. So Hyperspace is one that had started. Let me get back to the notes here as we look at this. Hyperspace is one of the ones that had started back in July. So their announcement was June, and then they went live in July. They are basically that's Hyperspace is a brand new fork. And so for most people, that was a 1 to 10 drop. So whatever you had as of, I think it was, let's see if I have the date here. I don't. But as of, I think it was 163,000 or something close to that. They did a snapshot, and then you got, for every 10 you had of Sia, they gave you 1. And I've already gone in with the Hyperspace browser and grabbed those, or the Hyperspace wallet and grabbed those. So if you had Sia, here's the trick. With Hyperspace, you need to go to their 1.1 wallet. They already have a 2.2 to wallet, but you want to go to their 1.1 wallet, download it, open it, and then you can open it with the same keys, right? The same phrase that you had. And it takes a little while. It'll scan, and then they'll grant you your coin, your free Hyperspace coin. And then I created a brand new Hyperspace wallet with a completely different key than I had for the Sia. And I just moved them over. Yeah, just moved them over. And I'll let it sit, and I'll kind of see what happens. So that's Hyperspace. Sia Classic is another one that kind of came off of it. It's a continuation of the Sia blockchain. And so this is the one, Sia Classic is 1.3.5 today. They don't have a wallet yet. I wouldn't recommend anybody go on Sia Classic. It doesn't have that many people keeping the lights on, and I don't know if it's going to make it, just to be 100% honest with you. So I haven't even started a wallet there because they don't have their own, and I just don't want to mess with it until they get one. No allocations, no airdrops, none of that, at least at this point, not that I'm aware of. And there may be, hold on, that may be wrong. Let me look really quick here on that one just to make sure. No, because whatever you had as in the original Saya, you're going to get. So I had 10,000. I'm going to get 10,000 of Saya Prime, right? Because I had 10,000 in my wallet at the time of the fork. So that's going to be 1 for 1. They don't have their own wallet yet. They don't even have a valuation yet. So like I'm hanging on to see what goes on with Saya Prime. I'm sorry, Saya Classic. So that's just continuation, moving on, just waiting for a new wallet for them. The fourth one that's out now is Saya Prime. That started literally the day Saya forked. So that started October. Their launch date was October 30th. That is a new blockchain, and they are going to do an approximate 1 to 5 airdrop. And they have a weird formula for that's one of those ones where the earlier you started in Saya, the more you're going to get, and some other crazy things. I've downloaded their wallet, and that airdrop is supposed to hit tomorrow.
Oh, the 9th. Yeah, tomorrow. Okay. You said difficulties climbing on this one. Pretty fast?
They all are. Yeah.
Okay.
They all are moving pretty fast at this point. I would say GPU mining on any of this is over. Like it's been over. You're not GPU mining. It's just not. The obelisks, the ASICs are just, there's too many of them out there, and difficulties are just climbing too fast. So I GPU mined on Saya Prime for a while, and because it had the best, I could get 7 coin per day per gigahash. And I basically have 2 gigahashes. So that means 15 a day. That's already dropped to 5. So it was 7. No, so it's 7. Today it's 3. So that's dropping pretty fast. And you're kind of like, okay, 24 hours of my 1060s burning full steam to get 3 coins that are worth less than a penny.
Yeah.
That's not very smart, right?
No.
Not very smart. So GPU mining on those, not very good. But Saya Prime will have an airdrop, and same kind of deal. You turn the wallet on, you wait, coins pop in there, close it up. Like just
might as well. Yeah, fire these up and gather your coin now.
So those in a nutshell are the 4, one existing and the 3 new forks that have come off of Saya. Super interesting. They're all trying to do some kind of storage thing, which is just stupid, just to be honest. None of that's actually going to work.
Well, that was going to be my question for you, is are they focusing on anything different? But no, they're all doing storage still, huh?
They're all doing some version of storage. And I just know, I moved my Saya funds into a new wallet and have shut off the storage. It was just taking too much bandwidth, and it really wasn't. It just wasn't. And I'll keep an eye on them, see what they're doing, but I just, it's a race to the bottom on storage. I just don't see how that'll ever be profitable in any way. So I'm I think I'm done from that point. I'll continue to monitor the wallets and keep them up to date and just those kinds of pieces, but not do that anymore. Many of them, they still got a lot of challenges getting on, getting on exchanges, but like I mentioned, they all have their own Discord groups, and geez, all of a sudden my Discord just blew out. So
what I do like about Discord though, is they do a decent job of letting you pretty much fine tune the notifications per channel, first of all, per server, then per channel, limiting to only mentions. I do like how granular you can get with the controls on Discord. It's become my new favorite kind of app on my phone, to be honest with you. It's a great place to build a community.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. So a good one to mess around with. So that's Saya. If you've been doing that, it's kind of interesting. It was fun to figure all this stuff out this last weekend. I spent a ton of time.
Did it bring you back to the good old days?
It did. Yeah, no, it was fun to figure out wallets and test things and try stuff out and get the technology working right. Where am I going to store stuff? And, I picked up 1,000 hyperspace coins. I'll pick up probably pick up 2,000 Saya Prime coins in the deal, starting with about 10,000 Saya Classic. You can't even say that, just Saya. because they have Prime, Classic, and Hyperspace. And I always want to say, well, the Classic, it was the Classic. It's not. It's just Saya. So a little bit going on there. There's if you head over to the Patreon link where you're listening to this at, that link to both sayamining.com/chains, where they're all listed there. There's also a link to a Reddit article that kind of describes them all. I kind of dug in on that. And then at captainaltcoin.com, there's a really good article talking about the split. And it's it's like a divorce. The mom, dad, who is Saya, divorced, and Saya, Saya Classic is mom. And then Hyperspace and Saya Prime are the kids. Yeah. Because they're all off to their own. Yeah. It's just, and then they're all being nasty to each other, in the process. So it'll be, I think in a year, one of them will be gone, probably. So the other thing I've been working on, Mike, is JSC. Continue to pump that thing out. It's off right now because all my stuff crashed during the show. But
JSC is the one that runs in the browser, right?
It does. Yeah. Just open a browser window. And if you want to try this and you want to score easy coin, and it just doesn't take that much processing power, open it in a separate window. I leave it hidden behind everything. I really never see it. I just crossed over, or I'm getting super close to 20,000 coins that I've been mining for, I don't know, a couple months, and they're worth at 3 cents or something right now. Not even, not even that. Maybe less than a penny. But again, it's one of those interesting things. They're trying some stuff, and that kind of has a use case if they can actually get that coin, if they can get people doing it in the browsers.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Those kinds of things, you never really know. So I have a referral link in the, I'll put it in the show notes for this. And Ryan's asking in the chat room. Ryan, just to hang on a sec, I'll get that referral link out there for you. This is one where I will make a little bit if you sign up on this referral link, if you want to do it. So that link will be in the chat room. It'll also be in the show notes there on both at theaverageguy.tv and as well as at Patreon. We'll put that piece in there. And if you want to join, it's super easy to do. And you just run it when you need some of your resources back. You just stop it. It's really freaking easy. And it's CPU mining, so you don't even need to have a very advanced card on that CPU. The faster your CPU is, the better. Mike, one more thing. I found a new thing this week on crypto. I think you're going to like this.
Yeah.
So it's called BitTube. You kind of know where I'm going on this one, right? So this YouTube equivalent that is all where content creators get paid based on views and some other things on the blockchain. So they're using the blockchain to be the currency, the coin to be the currency. And the videos are not being stored on the blockchain. That's stupid. Actually, the videos are being stored on the new interplanetary internet protocol, which is super cool. So if you haven't heard about that,
I have not.
Yeah. Called IP. What do they call this thing? Hold on one second. If I can, let me get back to it here really quick. I've been listening to Vint Cerf talk about this because Vint, of course, father of the internet, did a lot with the original internet. And then after they got that going, he started thinking, hey, we're gonna have to figure out how to send packets around the solar system. Like, if we've got all these things that are out there, how are we gonna get data around to planets? So they started thinking about this. IPFS is what it stands for, or what it is. And it's an interplanetary, it's what they're using to send packets to Mars, the Mars rovers, the satellites that are circling around Mars. Completely distributed, and fully kind of redundant. And so pretty interesting. If you go to BitTube, if you go to coin.bit.tube, and actually I have a link in the show notes to my BitTube channel. If you go to bit.tube/therealjc, I was early, so I was able to get that. Super proud of myself for that one. Yeah, but pretty interesting kind of thinking about the blockchain. And so here's what's really cool about it is I can attach my YouTube channel to it and I don't have to re-upload everything. I just say, hey, just grab this one from YouTube and it pulls it over.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you go out there right now, I think if you go to BitTube right now, or if you go to that link, bit.tube/ the real JC, you'll see my channel. And actually, while we've been talking, it's been pulling videos over from my YouTube channel. That's not using my bandwidth, which is really cool. I don't have to re-upload them. I can just pull them from YouTube. And they're available there to watch just like they would be on YouTube. I have 21 videos out there that have been going, that have been moving. They've been pulling them from YouTube and putting them on their servers.
So bit.tube.
/ the real JC.
Weird. It's not working for me.
Grab the link. Hold on. Okay. That link should work in the show notes now. So you can I'll put it in the chat room too. If Ryan's still hanging out there. So thanks for staying around, Ryan. I think that should get you there. bit.tube / the real JC. Is it getting you there? I wonder if maybe it's something only I can do signed in.
Yeah, that's not getting me there.
What's it get you to?
Nothing. A page not loaded.
Oh. Maybe it takes a second. Here, I'll show it to you.
You broke BitTube.
I broke it. It
says the site can't be reached.
Interesting. Well, here. That's not the way it's supposed to work.
Interesting. Okay.
So there's me. There's the page. And then I have to troubleshoot this then and figure out. I thought that was like a public address everybody could see. Interesting. Here, we'll do let me try this link. This will not make for good audio podcasting. But yeah, okay, let's try this one.
You can't even get to bit.tube.
Oh, maybe it's down. Well, no, I'm kind of on it. Let's see. Maybe they're struggling. Yeah, file cannot find selected video. Okay. Maybe things aren't working right now.
Should have mentioned it.
As soon as I talk about it on a podcast.
Yeah, I agree with that. So even when I'm trying to I go through Google and I find it and I click on it and it must be down.
Okay. So something must be going on with that. Let me stop the sharing there. Well, so I think once things are up and working, if you go to bit.tube / the real JC, some of the shows out there, I'm gonna give it a try. I may even try to mine it. You can mine it, GPU mine it. It's GPU favorable. I just haven't had time to configure a miner to try and get it done. But basically a YouTube competitor. This, my friend, is actually interesting. Like this solves a problem, which is paying content creators fairly.
You think it'll be more fair than YouTube? Okay.
No, but it is attempting to solve that problem.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah. If it ever works.
Are you kidding me? People are gonna be like, what is this? You never know. It took YouTube a while to get going. If they could do something and make it last for a while, you never know.
Yeah. I wish it was up. I would love to take a look at just the site.
On the ground floor or something. Yeah, that's really bizarre because it was just working. It must have just went down. Let's see what this does. If I go to the home page, maybe I uploaded too many videos and
you took it down.
System. I did. There was 21 I uploaded tonight, so they're not that big. But I don't know. Maybe they weren't ready for that. There's some really cheesy videos out there. You know, I remember when YouTube first started and going.
Oh man,
that's garbage.
Yeah.
It was so bad. Just so bad. And it wasn't until Google bought them that it really kind of got better. And I remember thinking like, these guys going to make it, you know, and we wouldn't even think twice about that now. So that's my week in crypto. It was a busy week. I discovered a lot of things.
No kidding. That was a good update. I'm glad that you keep me up to date every week. It helps me stay on top of things.
Yeah. No, you should definitely. You have some Saya, right?
I do. I have quite a bit of Saya.
So you should definitely go out. Just remember on hyperspace, you need to get the 1.1 wallet, not the newest one, but the 1.1. And then I'm on for Prime, which will drop tomorrow. I think they only have one wallet, so I'm kind of hoping it'll just appear tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then Classic, we'll have to see. That's I don't think that's going to last. I'll just be honest. I don't think that chain, that fork is going to last. Listen, there's not enough market room for one Saya, much less 4. Like,
it caused market confusion, I think.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Right.
And it divided resources, and it just was. It's kind of silly all over ASICs.
Yeah.
All over greed. But the beauty of this is it's working like it's supposed to. It's decentralized. Anybody can do what they want. The market competes at this point. It shouldn't have. The original fork of Saya should not have allowed to make this decision. That's the only problem. It's acting like it's centralized. That's a problem. Crypto's got a lot of trouble, Mike. It's nothing like its ideals. Like, its ideals were decentralized and fair and perfect. It could be no farther from the truth.
It's weird. It's like politics.
Yeah, democracy should work. Like, right. When everybody's voting, and that should work really great. No, not really.
Humans don't follow that.
Humans find ways to game the system.
Yes, they do.
So, this is the worst of this is the reason I want to follow it. This is the worst of cryptocurrency right here. And so if they can, depending on what they come up with and how they survive, I think will be a tell on how the rest of cryptocurrency goes. So I think it's important to follow, just to keep up from what's happening, what are people doing, how's it actually working. I don't believe there will ever be a currency that actually solves our storage, because it doesn't need to be fixed right now. It doesn't. Amazon,
it's cheap, right? Fixed. Yeah, there's not much wrong with it.
Not to the average consumer.
Right.
There are some problems with it for some people, but the average consumer is like, I just want to put my file somewhere and get it back. I don't want to have to think about a blockchain.
Right.
So lots of good stuff. I will probably spend the weekend figuring out how to get the Prime airdrop that's coming. And then I may look at could I mine this bit tube? You can mine it. Like I said, CPU friendly, not a lot. It hasn't gotten very much traction at all from.
You said CPU or GPU?
GPU.
Okay.
GPU mineable. Yeah. So you never know. Could be. I need to do a little looking in to see where the difficulty is, and maybe worth it. Nice hash is 50 or 60 cents again. And the only reason I can justify it is because it warms the house a little bit. You're like, and it's really going to get cold this weekend. So you're like, it keeps my office warm.
Especially down there in the basement where you need it.
Yeah, but otherwise it's not, it's not worth even turning it on. It's been interesting to watch a lot of the ASICs now. A lot of the ASICs that were bought this summer are already worthless. People dropped $1,500 to $3,000.
Imagine.
They lasted 3 months.
I can't imagine. That would be awful. It'd be just awful.
You're like, oh, yikes. I just feel bad. And it's definitely like GPU mining is over. I don't think there's any place for GPU mining right now. It's just not profitable. Not.
Are your cards ever clicking on?
No.
No.
Well, I've been turning it on manually. Using the two I have. I'm actually like, I got this new power supply. I should show you. Anybody who didn't see the regular show, I got this monster power supply. Super great, 750. This is like a mining mining power supply, like
for four cards, maybe for lower end cards.
Yeah. But I'm to the point now where I'm starting to plan where these cards going to go into systems. They'll make a really good video cards.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So they'll get broken up and then put in systems for various reasons, just to have a video card in there. On the flip side, when we talk about Burst, I really like what's going on in Burst right now. It's slow and steady. My profits or my coin winnings have been up each week, which has been crazy.
Are you still at, terabytes wise? Where are you at? Have you
60?
Have you stayed constant there?
Yeah,
okay.
Stayed the same. I haven't added anything in weeks, months, maybe now. Whenever I sold that last one, and every week I'm getting more, which shouldn't be. That should not be. It should be less. And yet, this pool is so optimized. This VLP pool is so optimized. It's doing really well. And I'm not winning a single block. I mean, I've done one block in maybe 3 months. The pool is so good that
You've only done one block in 3 months right now?
Something like that.
Oh,
yeah. But I'm crushing it in the pool. So I don't mind, because it's a 0-100 pool.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I'm doing it's.
I guess someone's getting them, right?
It's performing well for me. So I'm gonna, and I can't honestly, I couldn't tell you if it's 3 months. Hold on, let's look really quick. That could be embellishing. Let's see what. Let me get to the right page here, and we'll refresh it. The last block I won was 8 days. That's not totally true then. Hold on. Let me refresh this. Well, maybe it was true. 8 days ago, I won one. 14 days ago, then 52 days ago.
So
yeah, from 2 months, 52, 57, 66. So I've had 4 in the last 2 months. So no, not quite 3 months. That's not true. But I've only done 4 blocks in 2 months, which isn't very great.
No.
But the pool is super helping me.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. I've been doing. Let's see. So last week, let me get in the right spot. Last week, so I'd set a record the week before at 502. I had been in the 400s, so I'd been like 452. This had been pretty steady. 474, and then the price went down. 440, 460, 452, 463. You kind of see where this is going here. Then I did a 496, and you're like, oh. And then I was back down. And then all of a sudden, 502. Then last week was 635.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Big climbs in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Now this week probably won't see that. I think I'm at 600. Hold on, let me get to the right page.
So there's no correlation. There's no event that happened that's causing you to get more. There's no exodus of miners or anything like that.
No, I don't think so. And it's still pretty randomized by pool. And, there are a bunch of random features involved in this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
428 right now. This will change tomorrow afternoon. Friday afternoons is when it pays. Could I get to 500? Totally. It just could easily be over 500 come tomorrow afternoon. So thanks, VLP.
Yeah.
They're my friends. They're my best friends at work. Nicely done. And actually have a really low effective capacity right now too, which isn't great. But I've learned that thing can swing 20%.
Either way.
Yep. So yeah, Burst continues to, that's a fun one now again. It's kind of, I think I'm going to stick it out till the end and I want to see what happens when we when we get down to the very end.
Well, this has been probably one of your most, engaging weeks of crypto you've had in a while.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Figuring all that out was a ton of fun. Digging in and getting wallets set back up, and what am I going to do? Yeah, it was a ton of fun. It was a ton of fun. I had a good time. You could probably tell from my voice that it was good.
Like I said, I love you keeping up to date, especially with the Saya stuff, because then that keeps me up to date. And now I got to go probably after this show and get all the wallets.
Yeah, you gonna do a little gaming tonight when we're done here?
Probably. I don't know. I can't decide. I'm kind of tired.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We will. It's gonna be a game time decision here.
Yeah, it's been
maybe for just like an hour.
Yeah, jump in there. And
the hard part is, so the way you get to affiliate on Twitch is there's like 5 metrics. You need to stream for a certain amount of hours. So it's all within a 30-day period. So every day it looks back at the past 30 days. It says, hey, did you stream at least this many hours? Did you stream at least this many different days? Do you have at least 50 followers? So that's kind of the hard one to get to when you first start. I'm at 31. So maybe we'll get to 50. And then you have to average over 3 viewers constantly as you're streaming. So what is your average viewers while you're going, your live viewers? And so if you have a night where you don't think you'll be able to, get viewers, then you're better off maybe going for a more prime time, right? So
we should, if we're gonna stream to Twitch, you should stream it to your channel, and we should drive everybody to you so you can get your metrics up.
That'd be fine. I think I'll get there to affiliate, because pretty much all I need is 19 more followers. Because my average viewers, like last night, we had a consistent 9 to 12 people out there the entire time. I had never seen that. I mean, usually you've seen it, it's like 2, 3, 4, and last night it was 7 to 12 all night. It was good.
Well, we can talk about it if that would be beneficial. I mean, and it may be beneficial, Mike, as you gather, and that may not be either. If people are coming to watch you game, and then all of a sudden there's a podcast.
Well, but they would know that Thursday nights is when you do the podcast, right? Yeah, whatever you want to do. It'd be fun to do it that way.
I'm not opposed to it. If you want to think about how to set it up and just basically stream it from, if you can figure out a way to do that in our current setup here, it would be even better.
Oh, I could easily do it. I'll just screen capture, grab you from my mixer, call it a day.
Yeah.
I could turn it on right now and we'd be up in seconds.
Let's if you want to try next week, let's give it a
okay.
We'll be doing Black Friday deals. That'll be fun. Gadget deals. We'll put a big post out on Discord and do some other things and see if
that'd be cool.
Drive some folks to you and push you over the edge.
We could just embed it over on your live page for the night. But the only problem with that is people who want to chat need a Twitch account, but that's the only downside to.
No, we can still have the Chatwing chat there.
Okay. So have 2 different chats going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can try.
Yeah.
I can monitor both.
That's true.
That's not a big deal. Kind of do that at work a little bit now. So, let's try it next week.
Perfect.
We'll give it a run. In fact, why don't we? We'll embed both. So we'll have YouTube and Chatwing, and then we'll have a Twitch
down below.
They can kind of pick.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Send me the code.
Well, I'll probably play with OBS right now then, and see if I can get her set up.
To Josie, ask, does Twitch transcode at lower bit rates?
Oh, okay. So they do, but you have to have over a certain amount of viewers on your channel before they engage that.
Okay.
Otherwise, they've got to watch at your bit rate, whatever you're doing.
Why is everything coming up twice for you, Tajoski? That's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. I'm seeing the same thing.
Well, they can always watch on YouTube.
Yeah. True. They could just switch.
Yeah. In fact,
I want to see how well the OBS kind of thing works.
Yeah, that may be a philosophy we go with for long term anyways, where it's available both on YouTube and then YouTube, Spreaker, or Twitch, and play the space, and there could be some really cool changeover, much like we're seeing that in Burst today. Like, because Ken posts out to Burst, we're starting to pick up some Burst followers.
Right. Right. Yeah.
The gadget piece of it. So Tajowski, you need to just continue to watch it on the YouTube piece. Be better for you out there anyways. So Twitch is interesting. The app is really cool on Windows. The Twitch app is pretty cool.
It is, yeah. Their whole ecosystem works really, really well. The bits, the subscription. So, Jim, I don't know if once I get to affiliate, everyone who has an Amazon Prime account has one free Twitch sub. So you can sub to someone, which means that the creator. So a sub is usually $5. You sub them per month, and then the creator gets about half of that. But everyone who has Prime has one for free. So that's kind of the cool thing about getting to affiliate is people can start subbing to you. So all your friends who have Amazon Prime, if they like watching, they can just go and sub, and doesn't cost them anything, but they can kind of support you that way. Or they have bits now, which is also another way you can support them, and it's just it's a cool platform.
Super cool. I'd like to, and it'd be cool. I don't know if I'm that interested in growing an audience out there, just because I'm not going to be out there gaming probably, but that'd work pretty well for you. And
it'd help me out a lot. Yeah.
It'd be good for the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Could be kind of fun.
So, viewers.
I watch those jackasses, Rhett and Link now, and I'm like, God, these guys, I could do so much better than
I love Rhett and Link. Dude, the morning stream is awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty great. So they're super creative.
Yes, they are.
They are super creative.
They spend a lot of time on their content.
All right, dude. Have a good night. We'll catch you over on the Twitch side.
All right. See you later.
Have a good night.